Dr. Tope Ojo, who is the chairman of the Nigeria Medical Association, Lagos, joins us this morning. Thank you for coming on today.
Thank you, Chamberlain. Good morning.
There are so many comments going on at this time, but what's your response to this? I know that I think the enemy met last week about the same matter, but what's the freshest perspective on this one?
You mean on the suspension?
Yes.
Well, thank you very much. It is with all sense of sympathy that I want to reflect on that in the first place. Because when you have this kind of decision, of course, let's just put it summarily, sack of 16,000 doctors and the resident doctors is only reminiscent of the so-called Draconian military era, and it gives a lot of sad nostalgia because this kind of policies, that is favored instead of looking at the key challenges and resolving them.
What are the challenges?
Yeah, for example, you look at the demand of the doctors. That is Nigeria Medical Association. We've been negotiating with government, but they haven't been any way forward. You agree with me that this strike has been on for some time. The body of doctors is made up of responsible people, this noble profession of medicine. We have professors, we have people that are well over 70 years, and they are still practicing. They form this body of doctors. So if government have met these demands, it will just not make any sense that this strike will still have lingered.
Okay, let me read out some of this, because you think that this is predicated on the industrial action and backed upon by the doctors.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, but we got across to the health minister for further explanation on this, if they could even show up, but they instead sent a statement from him. And so it's titled, "The Suspension of Fresh Appointments of Doctors and the Residency Training Program in Federal Hospitals." And it reads in parts. I'm trying to take some parts of it now to save time. It says, "The government has also suspended the residency training program in all its hospitals, as the program has in recent times been beset by numerous challenges, including poor performance and unsatisfactory conduct of the resident doctors. The quality of training has also progressively declined over the last decade, despite recent efforts by the Jonathan administration to revamp it." And then he talks about the implication where some people will be disengaged accordingly, but the last paragraph says, "It needs to be stressed that only resident doctors under the employment of the federal government are affected. Resident doctors employed by the state government in their hospitals and private hospitals would not be affected." But what he talks about primarily here, he sees that one of the reasons for employer-initiated determination of the appointment, according to the terms of the probationary residency appointment, is unsatisfactory performance by the resident doctor, which is what he talks about.
Well, the way we look at that is very simple, because I took my time to look at the reasons, okay? And one of the things that will interest us as a people is that if you look at the demand of the doctors, then the Honorable Minister is coming far behind, okay, in terms of being proactive. Because one of the demands actually of the Nigeria Medical Association is what he is quoting profusely. So what I mean is restructuring of this residency program is one of the demands of the Nigeria Medical Association. In fact, we're looking at a situation whereby there's a National Residency Board, because you know what postgraduate residency training means. It is supposed to churn out the highest level of medical specialists.
So if the restructuring of the residency program is part of your demands, why are you complaining, or why are you crying foul now that the government says, okay, let's suspend this so that we can work on it and get back to it.
Sorry, I don't mean to be derogatory if I answer this way. Supposing we want to restructure channels, we won't need to close it down. We won't need to close it down. Okay? It is what we have been engaging government. Let me give you some examples, or let me just give a chip of what we are talking about. Here, we still have the high level of inadequacy. That's why people still go abroad for some form of treatment. Okay? The manner of, employment to the residency program is haphazard. It's largely based on, how will I put it now? Or, you pass your primaries, they are looking for space all around. It's just like getting a formal temporary employment with a teaching center. That is one issue. If you have a residency board, this will be holistically looked at, and you have a kind of placement arrangement that will be handled by this board. One of the things there too is the question of funding. All right? There are aspects of this training that have to be funded. We have said this several times.
Okay.
So some people will say that you're basically on the same page. I guess that's where you are. Because you said that if you gave the example that if channels were to restructure, for instance, they won't need to close it down. But that will be the prerogative of management and the type of restructuring they wanted to do. You say that you have oftentimes spoke with government about the need to restructure the residency program, and government is saying that as a result of that, this is the step they wish to take. Will you also quarrel with how they wish to restructure the program?
You see, when you look at democracy itself, it is not, you can't determine that on the basis of, to me, it's even alien to civilization. We're talking of a potential statement that will make Nigeria a laughingstock in the guild of nation. We cannot do it that way. That you want to shut down. Okay, let me tell you the implication of.
They did not terminate.
Look, wait. Let me tell you one thing. Let me just tell you one thing. I need to enlighten us on this. I'm a consultant gynecologist. You see, this is a laughable statement. The postgraduate residency training, okay, has to do with the training of the middle level manpower in the health sector. These are done in teaching hospitals. All right? They are the people going through a minimum period of 6 years, depending, in different fields. I will not tell you the implication of that statement. Because it's like we're still taking this thing on the surface value of it. Training of medical students, for example, I've gone through residency training. I've been a consultant for about 10 years. The residents form the board. You can have a unit where you have just 4 or 5 consultants, and you have 20 residents at different levels of the training. They participate profusely, seriously, deeply in the training of medical students. Up to 50 to 60%. All of us, we have attended, we graduated from tertiary institutions. It's the same, it's not different. Who takes your tutorials? Graduate assistants and all that. You understand? So which means that literally there's no medical training that can go on. I can tell you on authority. I'm a consultant. The residents handle the tutorials, okay? More than 50% contribution to training of medical students. Then let me take this one. It also means that, because the minister must be clear on design issue. You see, we cannot treat this with kid gloves. Let's tell the truth. All right? Major surgical operations is short. That is the truth. Do you know why? The resident doctors, a consultant don't perform operations, the operation alone. As a matter of fact, we won't even agree for you to say you have sacked nurses. Because I will not go and perform a hysterectomy on a woman without a perioperative nurse. I'm risking forgetting gloves, scissors and all that. Because he's the one that will tell me, Doc, you can't close up. My instrument is not complete.
So what would the residents play in that
very good
operation?
I'm booking a patient for hysterectomy, for example. I will have nothing like 2 or 3 of my residents at different level. Maybe 2 junior registrars and 1 senior registrar there. They will have started preparation of the patient from the clinic. Check the blood for this, for that. They follow that up. And they are trained to do this. That's the specialist balance of it. That cannot be left to say a medical officer will perform the same thing. All right, they are specially trained to handle this. As a matter of fact, too, when in most of the units, the senior registrars run the larger part of the list. So again, you have shut down. So we can't do. So you want somebody's brain to be opened by a neurosurgeon, and you'll be assisted by a medical officer.
All right. Does that mean that when the strike was on, none of this was going on?
Of course, yes. It can't go on.